Good morning, welcome to the Saturday morning running show. My name's Ray Whitby. I'm from the Aspiring Runners YouTube channel, and if you're joining us live, absolutely fantastic to have you here. If you're also joining us on replay, it's great to have you, but sorry that you couldn't be with us. Hopefully you'll catch us next time on the running show. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. It's bright and sunny. Hopefully you've been out and already got your run in, or you're planning to do one later. It's promising to be a fantastic weekend for weather, so absolutely ideal for running. I'm not alone this morning. Joining me as ever is the anchor man. He is the ineffable, the incapsulable, an all-round nice guy. We've got Simon Jones. Simon, good morning.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning. I don't know what half of those words mean, but thank you. I know what nice guy means, but the rest of it, I have no idea. So I'll have to get the dictionary out later. But morning, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. Yeah, just very excited to get into this show. And yeah, joining us, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, doesn't matter which platform you're on, we're trying to make it easy and accessible for you, the viewers. And what we'd love for you to do is to comment. So give us a big shout out, say good morning, and let us know that you're out there. Coming up in the show today, we are dealing with a couple of fun topics. The main one that we're going to be looking at is the big V word. It's clean. This is a family show, so don't panic too much. Now, we know that it's an anathema to some of you and an absolute godsend to others. We are going to be talking about volunteering. We're going to give a big shout out to those that have been serving the parkrun community faithfully week in, week out for years. But you know, no matter what capacity that you're volunteering in any running event, this show is definitely for you. So we can see that we've got Ali Whitby. Hey, that's my wife. She's joining me on YouTube. We've got Nat in the Facebook stream as well. So good morning, you two, and hopefully we'll have a few more that will be commenting as we get on. Also coming up, we have a mystery guest. If we're talking about volunteering, we've got a mystery guest. We won't give the game away, but just suffice to say, you'd be a crazy fool if you did not know who this person was. Please type in your guesses into the comments and let us know who it might be.
I can't believe you just said that.
It will all make sense.
It will all make sense, definitely.
It will all make sense. If you're excited as I am, it's probably because you've got lots of coffee. Who knows? And here's the question. How many cups of coffee or tea have you had already this morning? So please just comment. What is getting you going this morning? Do you have to dose up on caffeine in order to get yourself geared up and ready to go? But Simon, revelation this week. You don't drink, don't drink coffee.
No, I am not a hot drinker, unfortunately. I have my squash with me this morning, and I am partial to the odd fizzy drink as well. So I can't stand tea or coffee. I think it's disgusting. So squash for me, or water, or fizzy pop. So that's what I am.
But in terms of pre-race preparation, do you not use caffeine at all in there?
No, I would say probably for me, I might have a Lucozade or another energy drink of said source, but Lucozade seems to be the most easy accessible one that I can get from most major supermarkets. I don't want to kind of advertise anything, but yeah, so for me, I'd normally have a Lucozade or something to give me that energy boost. But as far as caffeine products are concerned, I think before a race, no, it's normally water, squash, juice, or Lucozade for me.
Yeah, I definitely have to have the caffeine fix just to wake up the system. And I have found on the longer running events that a little caffeine tablet or some kind of energy bar that has caffeine in just really helps to push the system on towards the finish line. So yeah, for me, it's definitely got to be the caffeine in the system to keep me going. Morning running routines. Well, there's three key things involved in that, and one of them is coffee. I won't mention the other two, but definitely important to get that done before you leave the home. If you don't know what the facilities are like, but anyway, on with the show. I think it'd be great, Simon. Could you introduce the news for us, please, on the first item?
Yes, so parkrun updates this week, or this fortnight. So as we announced in the last update, New Zealand last week had their first parkruns since lockdown was eased there. So they're the first country to have parkrun back and actively going. There were 26 events, I believe, held across New Zealand, and there were over 4,000 runners, volunteers, walkers, joggers that came around and actually did the event in New Zealand, which was good. Each event also honoured one of the parkrun countries. So There's 22 countries, I believe, that have parkrun events. So there were each of the parkrun events in New Zealand was honouring one of the countries as well. So that was good to see. But as far as the UK is concerned, there's no further update really. It's still locked down as no events are coming up anytime soon, unfortunately. They are monitoring and having guidance and specialist guidance. So we'll just have to play it by ear and wait and see. As far as Eastbourne Parkrun, last week we had our Stars and Strides event. So we had 48 runs registered under the Eastbourne Not Parkrun, which meant that we combined we actually 240 kilometers altogether, and I worked out that 240 kilometers from Eastbourne is Taunton. So we, as a collective, we ran to Taunton. So I find that quite good.
Of all the destinations that we could run to, I'm sure we could have picked some, I don't know, some slightly more exotic ones. Was there anything else close by that we could have got to?
Yeah, if we'd have actually gone one more park run, we could have actually have gone to Belgium or Holland. So slightly more fruity destination than Taunton. I'm not putting any downers on Taunton by any means. I've been there. I've run the marathon in Taunton. But yes, I think I'd have preferred to have gone to Belgium or to Holland. But yes, perhaps next time.
Next time, yeah, just one more park run. So maybe we need to double up or treble up in some cases, trying to push the distance farther. Okay, next in the news, we are looking at the Hamburg Marathon. And looking at the lockdown situation, of course, many race events have been cancelled. Many race events have been postponed till 2021 whilst they're just waiting for the coronavirus or to be able to facilitate a safe running conditions. And the Hamburg Marathon, it's trying to figure out how they can run safely. So they're looking at reducing the field to 10,000 participants plus the elite runners. And from the notes that they've been issued so far, they're talking about releasing 1,000 runners in 10-minute slots throughout the morning. So that's going to be quite an effort. Going to need an awful lot of space to do it. Now, Simon, you and I have talked about this over the past couple of weeks, and it's still an issue for many of us that we look at the situation and think, is it safe? Is it safe for us? Is it safe for those that will be helping support the events? Now, I know that the UK government have issued guidelines to say that for elite runners getting back into mainstream sports, that they'll be behind locked doors, so there'll be no participants. But outdoor activities such as this, it's going to be difficult to avoid that kind of level of interaction with spectators. But you've still got support crew, training staff, coaching. You've got medical aid, first aid, etc., etc. It just makes it very difficult. And I think the most that they could do is try to get people to cover up their face masks, but there's still that danger of interaction. How do you feel about it, Simon?
Yeah, I think as we've discussed before, I think for me, I think it's too soon. Knowing that certain parts of Europe are having second spikes, and I think Germany, has had a bit of an issue when they came out of lockdown. So I'm not convinced it's going to go ahead. If it does, fantastic. It's good to see a big event like that happen. I know that with the Hamburg Marathon, they're providing everyone that's running a tubular scarf with a filter. So they have to wear it at the expo beforehand, at the start line and at the finish line, and they have to be carried. Every runner has to carry it with them. So I don't know. I think for me, if I knew I was going to be running every 10 minutes with 1,000 people around me, I feel a little bit nervous. I don't know about anyone else. I don't know what anyone else wants to comment and how they would feel doing the same, but I think it would be a little bit nervous. I was running along the seafront this morning, and in my run this morning, I probably saw 20 other runners. And unless they were running together as a couple, obviously hopefully living together, then everyone was socially distanced. So if you've got 1,000 people going off every 10 minutes, how can you socially distance with that? I don't get it.
Yeah, and it is a difficult environment to manage, and just not knowing how safe you can be in those conditions. You can try to mitigate all the circumstances, but without a cure, you're still potentially exposing yourself to the infection. And as we know that it hits all ages, and to be honest, nobody is safe now. We understand the risks according to age category and health conditions. But yeah, it'd be great to know, as you've just asked, for those that are watching. Yeah, please comment below. Would you race if you had the opportunity? Would you be going along to Hamburg Marathon or any others that are planning to occur later this year? I do believe that the New Forest Marathon is still open its books for participants to register for September this year as well. Yeah, so tell us, what do you think? What are your comments? What are your thoughts? Do you feel safe if you had a face mask and lots of hand sanitizer, or are you just going to avoid it until next year, or maybe it's a couple of years? I mean, that is the difficult question. If we never find a cure, will we be able to run again normally? What would the new normal look like? But yeah, please share us thoughts and let us know. But during this lockdown, it has afforded some interesting opportunities. And one particular individual has been running for charity. So this is Brendan Rendell, who is raising money to help save Chester Zoo. And he has taken to dressing up in fancy dress in order to raise and promote the causes that he's trying to raise money for. So just got a photograph of him in full regalia. So on the left hand side he's in a rhino, and on the right hand side he's as a parrot. And what we've got to look at, I think, is interesting. How far did he run? It was just over 1,200 miles during lockdown, wearing these costumes in order to promote for charity. Now, of course, whatever your reasons are, I think running for charity is absolutely great. It's a great way for raising awareness, and also running for a cause that you believe in, and trying to bring a community together to help support something that you're passionate about. And Simon, I know that you have run for charity a number of times.
Yes, I've the three charities I've mostly run for have been the chance I've run for St Wilfrid's Hospice, our local hospice. So I love supporting the local hospice with us, Children with Cancer, a nationwide charity, and Prostate Cancer UK. And I have bizarrely enough run I didn't send a photo to you, Ray, but I do have a photo of me in fancy dress running an event, and that onesie, let me just put it up again, that onesie was also worn for the London Marathon in 2011, and was shortly binned afterwards because it was disgusting. So yeah, I completely commend the person that's done that. I think, is it Brendan? Was it the gentleman's name? Brendan Rendell. That's just crazy. And to do that kind of achievement is superb, and I hope he raised lots and lots of money to keep the zoo going. That's so fantastic.
Yeah, and he said it has been exceedingly challenging. And I think he mentions two things that you did. One, he said, was just the copious amount of sweating, and he also said that a number of these costumes did chafe, and he did find that quite challenging. And
yes.
Yeah, we just had a comment come in, just going on to the previous point. By the agent has left the building, says chances of dying from coronavirus is 0.0003%. And I think that's on the average, going from 0 all the way up to, over 100 years old. But I think the difficulty is that we don't know, are you in that risk category? And it does make it difficult. It is. Some people are happy to take the risk, and then others, obviously they are a little bit apprehensive. I think it's also, if you're carrying that virus and then exposing it to other people, again, does that then, passing it on, does that expose them and others as well?
Yeah.
It is a tricky one. But I just wanted to mention that comment. Thank you for comment. Just keep them coming in. And we'll try and get back and talk about it. It is obviously a very passionate subject for all of us. We're all in this together, and it'd be interesting to see what would you do. What would you take? What risks would you take, or what would you help to mitigate those risks? But this morning we really want to honour the volunteers. We've got a couple of videos that we want to bring up of some Eastbourne Parkrun faithfuls of the volunteers. So if I can just bring those up, and we will be back shortly.
So Pam, 2012, 28th of January, that's over 8 years ago, you volunteered to get involved in the first park run in the core team. Tell me a bit more about it.
Well, I've been running for a couple of years by then, and I heard that a lot of people were going over to Brighton to do this park running thing, and I thought, well, there ought to be one over here. Then I heard that Stuart Pellet beginning was actually trying to organise something, and he needed some volunteers to try out the course. So that's how I got involved. That's how I got started. And then, yeah, the first one, obviously there was Stuart, because he was the director, and then Paul Sinton Hewitt came down as well. So we met the big boss man, and that was fun. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, 3 things you love about volunteering.
About volunteering. Well, I like the atmosphere and the friendly faces and the whole buzz about being there. That's what I really like about it. Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, that's good. Okay. And so, why do you think people do volunteer for parkrun?
It's partly. I mean, I partly to do it to give something back, but it's brilliant to do if you have any sort of injury, because you don't want to miss out on what's going on. So you can still limp along, be there, get involved, and it's great, you know, to see how other people, you can encourage others, and you're giving something back, aren't you? You get your t-shirt, get a free t-shirt. Well, what do you want, really?
Brilliant. And 3 things you miss about volunteering.
Well, I miss obviously the company, and I miss the coffee, I miss the chat, the other sort of stuff. I miss chatting to people. That's really good.
And what's your favourite role?
Now, well, the best role, always, I think, the best role, something at the end. I mean, there's a load of jobs you can do at the end. You can give out the tokens, you can be a timekeeper, you can do barcode scanning, or you can be don't take your barcode home, whatever you like. But that way, you get to see people when they finish, and you get to see the exhaustion on their faces, and the exhilaration, the triumph when they've made it, and you can see them falling over and think, yes, they've done it. I could do that. It's great. Hello, Tim. Hello.
Pam, hello.
Hello. So, talking about parkrun, can you tell me 3 things that you love about parkrun?
The 3 things I love about parkrun are the people, the proactive, healthy people that congregate together there. The environment, like Shinewater Park, it's got a nice, flat, open space feel about it, a bit of water around. And the third one is the vibe. I just like that feeling of people coming together, doing something proactive, something very happy, something very healthy, and you go away feeling very good.
Okay, so what do you miss then?
I do miss the vibe most of all, because I see the people individually from time to time, I see the environment from time to time, but I do miss that vibe of people coming together with that healthy purpose.
Okay.
Not a smoker's whiff anywhere.
So why did you start volunteering then?
Well, I turned up to the 3rd one, and at that time there were 30-40 of us. I guess half of them were regular runners, and the other half were just independent runners who'd come because they'd seen the adverts. And initially, because there were only 34 of us, and you needed 20 volunteers each week, half of us had to volunteer. And the trick was to volunteer in such a way that you could run at the same time. But lots of people sussed that out quickly.
Okay, so.
And I think it is very prominent now to introduce our mystery guest, and just trying to find out, did anybody actually comment correctly? I haven't seen anybody say the right name. So without further ado, let's bring him in. It is the one, the only, Mike T.
Howdy. Good evening, everybody.
Morning, Mike.
How you doing, Mike?
3 lads. It's Top Gear, isn't it?
And you're sporting a very purple shirt.
I've got my volunteer shirt on, because we talk about volunteering, I think, and it's not just about being altruistic. You get a volunteer T-shirt when you've done 25.
So 25, right?
You get a mug, which is a parkrun mug, and it says it was always about the coffee.
Except in Simon's case. Now, Simon and I have got a whole bunch of questions for you, Mike. But I think what would be really good for those viewers that haven't seen you before, that don't know you, that have never been to Eastbourne Parkrun, or actually never been to Parkrun, Mike, could you just explain a little bit about you and your connection with Eastbourne Parkrun?
Okay, well, I started my journey, parkrunning in 2014, I think. The Eastbourne Parkrun had been going for a couple of years, from 28th of January 2012. And I read about it to myself and a friend of mine. We just pitched up, had a run, really enjoyed it, got our result. We had our barcodes, we were all ready, and really had such a good time. So I've been going probably every single week, unless I've had a really severe injury or something like that. Every week since 2012, so it's 14. And then I was asked when Scott and Stuart, who were the event directors at that time, it seems to be the only way you can get out of parkrun when you become part of like an event director or something like that, to take it on. They were emigrating to Australia one year after the other, and they needed to pass the baton on to somebody else. And Muggins here volunteered, and I got the support of the core group, which you saw Pam and Tim, and I think Nat was at that meeting as well. So I took it over from 2014 when we were getting about 80 runners, and then we slowly started building over those few years. We've grown and grown in the 300s, 200s, 300s, up to I think 490, 500 practically is our highest number now. And the more runners you have, the easier it is to get volunteers from that pool if they're signed up to receive the volunteer request, the emails. So I think that was the journey. So I absolutely loved taking on. It was a bit daunting to become event director because you've got the sole responsibility with others. You have run directors as well that are responsible for the event, but generally. It was to build the team. So quickly I thought, oh, right, I need a co-director. So Natalie joined within a year or so, and she's sort of taken over as I became a parkrun ambassador as well, which is more, I support other parkruns as well. So I'm sort of in it for the long haul, and I've had tons about it really. So that was my story really. And I think my sort of stamp on it is to have a lot of fun, to be inclusive as possible, to encourage volunteers to try out new roles, to try, especially the ones that are the pressure points like the timekeeping and the barcode scanning. We've got, there are some pressure. And then, to take more and more on, try and get people involved. And Simon is another, he's now part of the leading core team. We've got the Pawley family, Ben as well, who's coming on, and so it's great because it's all about succession as well and sustainability. So my motto: keep everything as simple as possible, encourage volunteers, plan ahead a little bit, 1 week, so we know that we need 27 runners to now put on a park run, or 27 volunteers positions. You can do dual roles as well to put on an event each week, and that plus if we have pacer day, that you can add the pacers as volunteers as well. So great. That's my sort of backstory really. I'm still there.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think for putting on these events, as it's grown and it's attracted more and more runners, certainly into the Eastbourne, I think many park runs around the UK, around the world, of course, they want to see growth, they want to see greater inclusivity, but there is obviously a heavy reliance on people to donate their time. And I think it'd just be great. How do you marshal that? As a race director, an event director, how do you deal with the intricacies of having so many different people and expectations? Because the thing that we need to emphasize, especially for those that haven't heard of parkrun before, it is a run and it's not a race. Now, it's an organized run, and so therefore you get times, you get barcodes, you get results, but it is still a run. But there are still expectations then that it would be a professional event.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have a volunteer coordinator is one of those roles, a key role actually, to ensure that the places are filled. We put out appeals if we're having a bit of issues. We're looking for anyone with a barcode essentially, but you can still do volunteering without a barcode. But it's much better because you can get credits for it. But we would like people to volunteer for the love of it, really, that want to do it, that will have got a bit of common sense as well, which are team spirited. So we try and get them involved. We have a marshal briefing before the run, so it's all, we've got scripts, which we've developed, so anyone can step into those roles, like so you can actually follow. So it's as least daunting as possible for anyone to try out those roles. So a briefing, And then we want volunteers that will try out these things like timekeeping. And there's
and it can be. Sorry, Mike. These can be daunting tasks as well.
Oh yeah.
And because there is an expectation. What happens if things go wrong? That you have that level of responsibility. It is supposed to be a run and not a race, but people do get a little bit worked up. For example, I remember last year there was a park run where, unfortunately, on the summer course, as we were running back behind the start line, the first 20 or 30 runners were inadvertently diverted down the reverse route, whereas the rest of the pack ran the correct route, and we ended up meeting partway around.
That's right. Yeah,
these things do happen, but it can put the fear into people and prevented them from volunteering.
We've had so I mean, I was in that run, and I was I think I was in like 15th position or 20th or something like that. So the elite runners went the wrong way because the marshal just got his left and right. It was one of those. And then when I got there, we sent them the proper way. So most of the runners did it the correct course on that one. It was it just shows you that the power of a marshal, because those elite runners knew the course, so they will follow instructions. Have I missed something on the briefing or something? Could you have a pre-run briefing as well? But it was all fine in the end. I mean, there was a few, but it's it's a free event, and it's people were very good natured about it. We were very supportive of the marshal. I've made mistakes. I'll tell you what I did. I mean, I was volunteer coordinator. I was ticking. We encourage all the volunteers to come at 8:30, so get there. And I ticked off. The turnaround point, Graham. I just imagined him in my mind. I ticked him off, like on the sheet, and he was actually away on holiday. So on the turnaround point, we didn't have a marshal. But when I got there, I think again I was like 15th or 20th. I stopped and became that marshal. The front runners knew what to do and where to turn, but it probably wasn't even for most of the runners. They didn't even know that I made that mistake as volunteer coordinator. That was only a few years ago.
Yeah, Mike, I just wanted to say, mistakes do happen. There was a time not so long ago, I think end of last year, where the underpass was flooded, and the course we couldn't then do the summer course, we couldn't do the winter course, so we had to do our plan D, E, F course, and unfortunately it was slightly short because it had been unfortunately just marked incorrectly. But thanks to yourself and other volunteers that day, because I remember running that day and thinking, oh my word, I've done a sub 20 park run, and then getting my result back and being 1 second over 20 because you'd adjusted the times accordingly. I do want to echo Natalie's comments that she made earlier that you put up on the screen. It is fantastic. I've been in and out of parkrun for years, coming and going, doing a few here and there. And it was only probably end of last year where I just, I got my 100th t-shirt, as you can see, last year, and I decided to actually do more and give back. So for me, Natalie and Mike, both of you two have been so supportive with myself and any other volunteers that come on board. You're both absolutely fantastic. So I want to say thank you to both of you. And I think all of the core team and anyone that volunteers, it's absolutely fantastic. And again, yes, the agent has left the building. Big up to Graham. Graham is, I just want to bow down every time I do get to the turnaround. Thank you, Graham. And it's, you've got to thank the volunteers as you run past them, and because some of them are there and they're not runners, they're there and they're there just to volunteer. So, for me, it's fantastic seeing new people volunteering, same people volunteering, people that have been and gone because of health conditions and things like that. And it's good that we respect the volunteers as we go around.
Yeah, and we know that
Yeah.
Sorry, just say that we know that if you're going for your PB or your PR, you can be so focused and in the zone for running that sometimes you just forget who is there and you're just totally focused either on the watch or the course itself and making sure you don't stumble into anybody. But I think the sentiments are there, but I think a lot of the time it is better to voice those sentiments rather than to keep them all to yourself. And certainly at the finish line, it's great to see people as they're coming across, get their breath back, handing in the bar tokens, and then they do deliberately wander around saying thank you to everybody.
Yeah, it's good. So, Mike, what is your favourite? What's your favourite volunteering position within parkrun?
Obviously, my main one is run director, but I do timekeeping. I like even the post run. I like the results coordinator. That was my big fear, the computer. Actually, I remember the first time I did it when we used to meet at the Toby Carberry before we swapped over to St Wilfrid's Hospice Cafe, and I was really petrified. I would just make a mistake or just destroy the computer. And it's quite a creative process as you plug in your barcodes, you plug in your watch. It all through the system, it magically appears, doesn't it? And you hopefully, fingers crossed, you don't get too many red lines, which means data errors. And generally, it's gone really well. But I do remember that was a daunting. I quite like that feeling of taking on something that's slightly. And it isn't daunting really, and we will always shadow people on things. So timekeeping. Oh no, I'm going to double click someone. We get runners that double cross at the funnel. You get funnel duckers. Got to be careful how I say that. And so the runners are So we basically there's so many things. That's why we have funnel managers and all that sort of thing. So it's those sort of things. You just try it out, shadow it. We have Duke of Edinburgh students as well that do, as part of their volunteering module. They come along and they've been really good as well. So and they get such it's a great way to develop a few skills, really. I think because it's barcode scanning, it's handling the pressure of the cues, timekeeping, it's concentration, and I've done that quite a few times, timekeeping. We have got some star volunteers that do it week in, week out, like Chris and a few others. And that forced me to concentrate because I like to chat.
Yes, you do.
You have to focus on if you've got 5 runners coming in, you're ready to click it 5 times and all that sort of thing. Or on the app, using the app. I think eventually we'll be having to encourage all our volunteers to use the app for barcodes and for timekeeping, and that can be daunting for somebody to swap from a watch to an app.
And I think as you said, Mike, I think it can be quite daunting. When I first did Run Director, I was petrified. I have to admit, I stood there with the megaphone, and I was petrified. But with yours and Natalie's support, it just went so smoothly. And then since then, it's been fine. I think it's anyone I know that looking at the comments, Claire, would love to try volunteering when parkrun starts. That's fantastic. I think just you don't have to be a runner, but if you are a runner and you want to give back, as Natalie said, volunteering, whether it be on a marshal point, first timer briefing, anything. I love the first timer briefing because you get to meet people that are looking to you for that guidance of where do I go, what do I do, how does this work type thing. And as I've said before, I love pace a day. I absolutely love pace a day. For me, is fantastic.
Yeah. So it brings us on to this particular question: can we run or do we volunteer? Should we run? Should we volunteer? And it'd just be great to get your thoughts, gentlemen. But before we do on whether you can do one, the other, or both, it'd just be great for the viewers. What positions have you done in terms of volunteering? Whether it's at parkrun or any run or race event, what kind of positions have you done for volunteering? And you've really, really enjoyed. So please, comment down below. But back to the question: run or volunteer, or can we do both?
It's like, should I come or should I go? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd say try. Yeah, I mean, just give it a go. And I would say if people volunteer for lots of different reasons. Pam mentioned a few, and I just echo something she said about if you're injured, get in there and volunteer. Big part, get the atmosphere. She said, I think as well. So that was, and I think Tim reiterated that. And I think come down and just help your team, especially if it's like an Achilles or something like that. Just come down and volunteer. We do have volunteers that just volunteer because they like atmosphere. So it's so important that we keep that positive, inclusive atmosphere to encourage the pure volunteers, as I call them, and then, but to also encourage all runners, but not to put pressure on people to volunteer, because you want. I think the ethos of parkrun is that you should volunteer for the love of it, really. That you want to do it. You get something back from it, the atmosphere. So, but there are loads of roles you can do. One of the favourites is the newcomers briefing, or the first time briefing. You can do that.
I love that one.
You can do that. So that's quite a popular run. You can do the setup before getting all the equipment out, setting the course out, the pre-run check, which we have to do. That's compulsory. You can do over coffee or tea or squash in Simon's case. Sorting, you can run. So there's a lot of roles. I think there was 8 or 9 roles where you can do both. So it's not like run or volunteer. You can do both, mixture. And if you're a club runner, you can. There's so many other virtual 5Ks as well. Like on the that you can do at the moment. You can use that as an opportunity to give something back, as some people say. So I would say a mixture. We would, but I say the ones that come regularly. There's a core team. The people we know, they are like gold, really, aren't they? The ones that know how to marshal, they know they know how to time keep, they know how to do the finish funnel, the tokens, everything. So I think some of those, the core team, and we've got quite a large core team now, which is good because that's a result of having a large event. So we want to. Hopefully, when we get back again, when we've got the fight, we'll be able to populate those volunteer, the templates quite quickly.
And I did hear, Mike, that the core team are due a pay rise as well. Is that correct?
I can't wait.
Yeah, we're in negotiation at the moment. Yeah, so one of the skills of any volunteer, whether it's marshal, is to have very positive first response to customer complaints and those sort of, so if there is an issue or an issue with another park user, to record, just to handle that positively in a defensive way. We don't get very many complaints. We do get a few from other park users because of the numbers. The success breeds its own issues, really, doesn't it? We've had issues with car parking. We've had to address positively, always with a smile, but treating everyone, the users, the volunteers, the runners. We've had complaints from runners as well. About other runners. Always be positive, non-defensive, supportive. And we can always offer their money back. I've always said, if they're people.
I mean, because I've done a few volunteering positions myself for parkrun, and one of the ones I love, Simon, is the same. We like to do the pacer day, and it's not that we want to just commandeer one particular time, but we do find our favourite slots, and we do tend to have a little fisticuffs for those shirts. When we go for the start line, pick up the purple shirt with the gold lettering on back, and there's always a tussle over the sub 19. And you know, I just have to give it up to others. They get there before me, and but as a pacer, this is where the complaints of me being a runner has come, or at least about me, is that when you're a pacer, there's so much expectation, and you've got half a dozen runners coming past you saying, "Hang on, you're going way too quickly." Half of a dozen runners later, they say, "No, you're going too slow." It's like no in between. But I think there was just one unfortunate incident when I was pacing 25. And I was neck and neck with the sub 26. I was looking at my watch. They were looking at their watch. We were both looking at each other going, "No, you've got to slow down. You've got to speed up." It's like, well, who was right? So we crossed the line within 2 seconds of each other. Thankfully, my Garmin watch was correct and his was slightly out. But these things happen, and it was all in good. Yes. And the runners that were trying to do the sub 26, they understood. And of course, it's always that active encouragement of, "Come on, why don't we all participate together?" I'm sure we could double up on these shirts as well if it's pacing that you really want to do. So you don't have to have one pacer. We could have several pacers at the same time, or even half minutes. So just an idea. And as you said, Mike, sorry, go on.
I'm just going to say, since the start, 2002, we've had 765 different volunteers in Parkrun.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That's fantastic. And you know, and knowing that some people, you know, Claire has already mentioned that she'd like to get into volunteering. Mike, if people do want to get involved with volunteering, how especially with Eastbourne Parkrun, how can they do that? How can they get involved?
Just grab Claire, give her my phone number, email old Natalie's or yourselves, get her down there, choose a role. I'd say, you know. Yeah, you could start with some people start with marshalling, but whatever role they want to do, just have a go. Even shadow. Come down.
I think shadowing is very, very good. And I just want to say one of the most underappreciated volunteer roles, which is the tail walker.
Or two
tail walkers as we have now. You know, if someone just still wants to get involved, but still, you know, isn't unsure, the tail walker role is fantastic. You know. And who washes the bibs? They haven't been washed. They're like old PE bibs. They don't get washed for like 3 or 4 years.
It's not a volunteer role, but I think we should acknowledge that. That's part of the pre-run setup. I think we would put that count as a volunteering. I think.
Well, I heard that you just spray it before it's due to rain. Just put a bit of detergent on, wait for it to rain, get the pacers out there, and they just automatically clean themselves. But as you've said before, Mike, that volunteers are like gold dust, you know, especially those that serve selflessly, day in, day out, or week in, week out. And just to show you one amazing moment for a particular volunteer, there was a gentleman called Ian Guest who was trying to help out at his local park run in Rotherham, South Yorkshire, and then realised the nights before he was due to serve that he had actually signed up for a different. They're both called Clifton Park Runs, but this one was in Nottingham, which was about 40 miles away. So rather than just cancelling, he decided to jump on his bike, get to his local train station, get down to Nottingham, still serve, did the volunteering, then jumped back on the train and then got home again. So some people just go above and beyond.
Thank you, Ian. Well done, Ian.
So big shout out. So final thoughts, gentlemen, on volunteering. We want to say big thank you to them all, and we hope that we can bring them all back as soon as the lockdown is lifted for Parkrun HQ. So it is just a waiting game. But final thoughts.
I just want to say thank you to you, Mike, for encouraging me into in the volunteer sector. That and getting me up to the run director role and helping me out, and especially to Natalie as well. Both of you have been ever since I've been coming to Parkrun. You two have been the focal points for me. So I just want to say thank you to both of you, and I think I speak probably for the whole of Eastbourne Parkrun that both of you are fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Sam. I would thank a lot of the core team members, those timekeepers, Chris, and everybody's bit. Derek, there's a lot, and there's too many. Pam, there's some that go back a long way as well, which I would really think we wouldn't have such a successful Parkrun with such a good ethos, really. and people comment on that from our. We get a lot of visitors. I forget about the visitors actually, and they do. The feedback we get is that we're a very friendly, inclusive park run that doesn't take ourselves too seriously.
We try not to. We try not to. If anyone knows. If anyone knows,
Natalie's, she should be here. Really, I'm looking for Natalie's. Yeah, we rather than the 3 blokes from Top Gear, I think we need that.
3 amigos.
This is obviously a topic we could spend hours talking about.
I know,
so many tales. And if you have a tale that you want to share as a volunteer in a race or a run event, it'd be great if you could just comment below. If you're watching on replay,
we've got job descriptions for each of those, little pen pictures of each role. If you were ever interested in that, what they do, you can always get it online on the volunteer hub as well. So you can look at those roles and say, what do I fancy doing? Yeah, and we'll make it happen. And that.
Definitely.
So, just to say, finally, for the future shows, it'd be great to have your comments, to have your ideas, to have pictures and little videos. Just contribute them in. I'll put the emails addresses into the description below. It'd be great if you are watching on replay to just comment on what you've seen. I'll be able to pick them up in the next couple of weeks. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, and I think the major topic that we're going to be discussing then is looking at running and mental health. So it's a very prominent topic in society today, and very worthwhile trying to pick that up in a couple of weeks' time. But look, thank you so much if you joined us on the live stream this morning. It's great that you could stop by. Thank you for being so interactive, and it'd be fantastic if you can join us in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, stay safe out there. It's going to be a warm weekend, so make sure you've got plenty of fluids. Just to say, Simon and Mike, a very big thank you to both of you for joining me in the studio this morning.
Thank you, Ray. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Thanks once again. So we'll catch you soon. Catch you next time.